Welcome to the G.L.O.E podcast, where we talk all things God, life, the ups and downs, organization, because chaos is not cute, and entrepreneurship, aka chasing those dreams. Here, we glow boldly and live purposefully. I'm your host, Angel, and around here, we keep it real, mixing faith, strategy, and a few laughs along the way. Whether you're trying to get your business together, organize your life, or just need a little motivation, you're in the right place. If you've been hanging around for a while, welcome back, and I hope you bought a friend. If you're new here, welcome. Get comfy and stay a while.
What is up, guys? We're back with G.L.O.E. Thanks to my wonderful mom, Angel. She made these podcasts. G.L.O.E.'s all about God. So today, I see can be Bible, Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow worry about itself. Let's see if you can remember this and love God, love others. What do you focus on more? A, just doing what you or B, God. There's also a C I forgot to say. Others is actually B and C, because you can focus on others and God. Because God is important, and you always should love God, love others. Now it's time to hand it over to my amazing mom.
Thank you to my amazing son for that lovely Bible verse and for the encouragement of it all, y'all. He wants to use his voice. I may have told you all that we started attending a new church last year in December, and he has really fallen in love with it. It has been wonderful for him. They really teach the kids about the Bible and about God, and he is really into his Bible, and I'm not going to stop him from using his voice and from sharing the word with people. So that was his little intro. He wanted to move from doing it at the end of the show to the beginning of the show, and I said, sure, let's go for it. So today we are talking about uncertainty. And first, I want to apologize for leaving y'all hanging for the past 2 weeks. It was definitely not my intention to do so. Y'all know that I try to let you know whenever there's going to be a break in the show or anything like that. And this was an unexpected break. So my apologies. It has been such a long time since I've been behind the mic, and it honestly feels a little weird to me. In July, I finished recording and editing all of my episodes to the end of September, and it felt so amazing. It was so great. And my plan during that time was to write, record, and edit episodes for the remainder of the year. And I am so very proud to say that I currently have 2.5 episodes written, not including this one, and I have none recorded other than the one that you're hearing right now. So I do, you'll be very proud of me for this, have about 10 episode ideas that have titles, and some of them even have a sentence or two. So slow progress is still progress, right? We're going to go with it. But also around the time that I was supposed to start recording, I came down with a really bad sinus infection. I have never had a sinus infection in my 39, almost 40 years on this earth. And as they say, it's true. As you get older, things just don't heal as quickly and they come on a lot stronger. Like 2 years ago, I had tonsillitis. Never had that before. I was down for like 3 days. So got this lovely sinus infection. It kicked my behind. I couldn't talk longer than a minute without hacking up my left lung and like gasping for breath, gasping for air and like choking. So yeah, I wasn't really in a good space to record. I also sounded very like nasally, and it just wouldn't have been good for any of us. So that's where we are. But also the time that I thought I was going to use to plan ahead actually became a season of uncertainty for me. In July, I think like right after I finished recording all of the episodes, probably, I was blessed to get a full-time job and a part-time position. And even before I got these positions, I was already having some conversations with myself about the podcast. I had just rebranded, and I was hoping that the rebrand would be a refresh and I would see more engagement from it. I was also planning on making some other changes, such as cutting down on guest episodes, changing the way I promoted the show, and other things. And then I thought about just giving up the podcast altogether. When I started podcasting, I knew it was a lot of work. I just didn't know that it was a lot of work. It's more than just hitting record. There's marketing, PR, and creating of all those things. I am no social media manager. I am no email marketer. Like, that is not my wheelhouse, but those were things that I was told that I needed to do. And I did eventually cut down on my marketing. I went from doing 4 to 5 posts about one episode to just one post per week. And I did this because I had been being consistent, like everyone says you must be. And I just wasn't seeing any return on my investment. And I also decided to cut down on my email marketing. So I went from a weekly newsletter to a monthly newsletter and then no newsletter at all. And I was just going to keep using my email list to promote my episodes each week. But I realized that was also not getting me any return on my investment. And it was just taking way too long. I was putting so much time and effort into it. It took me about 3 days total just to write, edit, and schedule all of my marketing emails. And y'all, I won't even talk about the social media posts. But in August, like beginning to mid of August, I sent out an email saying that September would be the last email my list would receive from me. And I got so many replies from people saying how sad they would be that the show would no longer be on, but that they understood. Even my mom reached out to me. She called me and she was like, "Why are you quitting the podcast?" And I'm like, "I'm not quitting the podcast. I'm just not sending out emails about it anymore." So I had to send out another email explaining the podcast was not ending, just the emails. Even though the ending of the podcast was at the back of my mind. And if I'm being honest with y'all, it still kind of is at the back of my mind. So many of my fellow podcasters are hanging up their headphones and turning off their mics. And every day I wonder how much longer I have until it's my turn. I also see a lot of people who I met when I first started my business that are no longer in business or no longer posting on social media or sending emails. It's hard out here, y'all. It's even harder when you're in a season of uncertainty, when you're stuck between do or don't and weighing the pros and cons of each. I love podcasting and I am so happy that my show has resonated with so many people, helped so many people, and that people truly enjoy listening to it. And when I started it, it was just because it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to host a podcast. And somewhere along the way, I lost that and I tried to be too mainstream. I tried to do everything that everyone else was doing, jumping on the bandwagons and trying to follow the trends. And that's just not me. And when you are trying to do something that's not who you are, and that can lead to uncertainty as well. Like, I'm not saying like stepping out of your comfort zone, but I'm saying if you're not a trend follower, you're trying to follow the trend, or if you don't like the color orange and you're really trying to make yourself like the color orange, like that can lead to even more questions than answers for yourself. And during times of uncertainty, we're supposed to pray and trust in God's timing because his plan is bigger than our plan. But we so often self sabotage ourselves by trying to follow our plan, the plan of others, or what we just think is best in general. So I have been praying and asking God to guide me and tell me what to do. So far, he has not answered. And if he has, I have missed it. But I'm pretty sure that he has not answered because, I'll ask and then I'll be like, "Hey, God, did you hear me? Did you forget about me?" And he's like, "Angel, my time, not your time." So until I get a clear yes or no from him, and as long as I can continue to keep producing good episodes that have a meaning or a lesson behind them, I will keep recording. And if you yourself are in a season of uncertainty, I encourage you to do the same. First, I encourage you to erase whatever answer you want to hear because that is another problem that a lot of us have is that we pray to God about something, but we have already made up in our mind the answer that we want God to give us. And that's what we go with. And oftentimes that is not the correct answer. So erase whatever it is that you want to hear. And by doing this, you'll make sure that your mind is clear for the answer that God wants to give you. Next, pray about it. Pray with an open heart and mind. Pray for clarity, understanding, and purpose. God is not the author of confusion. And after you pray, wait. You may have to wait for a little while or a long while. You just never know. But during that waiting period, keep doing what God is instructing you to do. Even if what He is instructing you to do is not a clear answer to your question, it will eventually lead you to what it is that you have been looking for. And just remember the verse from earlier, Matthew 6:36. Don't worry about tomorrow because there's nothing you can gain by worrying about tomorrow. I'm paraphrasing it, y'all, but go back to the beginning of the episode and listen to it in full. All right. Until next time, keep going boldly and living purposefully. That's it for today's episode of the G.L.O.E podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're walking away with something that fuels your journey. And remember, glow boldly, live purposefully, and I'll talk to you next time.